don't know if you can see it in my eyes. They were a little watery there a moment ago. They were a little bit watery there a moment ago. I'm not gonna lie, I did tear up. I did tear up. Um, After the main event, I teared up because it was absolutely just beautiful. It was beautiful the way the main event finished off the show. If you haven't seen already, I did post a live reaction to obviously the biggest story of the night. Cody Rhodes finishing the story. We'll talk about that later. I'll talk more in depth about my thoughts about that later on in this video. Let's just get right in to night two. I actually thought night two was the better of the two nights. I need to pull up my card here, which is what I just knocked off the table. But anyways, I thought it was better of the two nights. There was more matches on this card that I thought were solid. I don't really know. I wouldn't necessarily say any of these matches necessarily missed the mark, where some of those matches on night one did. So I was actually fairly pleased with night two of WrestleMania. Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre was the first match. It went about as we would expect it. Drew McIntyre singling in on all the injuries from Seth Rollins coming into the night, ends up winning, and Drew McIntyre takes his celebration a little bit too far. Just CM Punk sitting ringside. He kind of just looks at him and kind of just pokes the bear with Punk, and then Punk, he had enough. He swipes Drew's leg from standing on the table, and then he takes off his shoulder thing or elbow thing, whatever it is, hits him with it, and out comes Damian Priest, and we're like, oh yeah, here we go. Mania cash-in. Damian Priest is now the world champion. Coming out of that match, kind of like I said, you'd figure it would be Damian Priest. You'd figure it would be Damian Priest. He needed to cash it in. Money in the Bank is coming up soon. He needs to get that briefcase off of himself, and it was perfect the way they did it. Really liked it. Damian Priest is your world heavyweight champion. Then we had another match that I thought was pretty solid. Final Testament versus The Pride. Now this match, to be honest, I think it was a solid match, but I think it was probably, if I had to rank the matches, it'd probably be the worst match of the night. I don't think it was a bad match necessarily, but it did what it needed to do. It got Bubba Ray Dudley involved. Obviously, he was the special guest referee for the Philadelphia Street Fight. Obviously, you're gonna get the big moment, get the tables, and he coached him how to jump off the top rope in between the legs. He put on the glasses, gave the count. It was a fun match for what it was. But ultimately, at the end of the night, if I had to say there was one match that kind of lacked the rest of the show, it would probably be that one. But I still thought it was a pretty solid match. It definitely would have been probably the second, at worst, the third best match on night one, depending on your thoughts about the latter match. But it was a very good match. But I thought night two did a great job. Then we got AJ Styles versus LA Knight. I like this match as well. Obviously, we're gonna get LA Knight. Yeah. We're gonna get him. We're gonna get him a win here at Mania, which is well deserved. Obviously, you're trying to build a new star. Granted, I do know he is older, which is kind of a key part about LA Knight, because he feels new to the WWE audience, but he is actually up there in age. You don't have a huge timeline with him, so if you're gonna strike the iron while it's hot, you gotta strike it pretty quick with LA Knight. I thought it was a pretty solid match. Like I said, LA Knight here, you gotta strike the iron while it's hot, and you don't got a super long time span with his longevity. I imagine in the WWE. I mean, he's I think around the 40 years old mark right now. He's 41. You probably got a couple good years out of LA Knight. So if you're really gonna give him a deep push, a big push, or even you're trying to make a big name out of him, you got to do it right now. I mean, obviously AJ Styles, we know how great AJ is. He doesn't need a WrestleMania moment at this point of his career, but LA Knight definitely was deserving of it. So shout out to LA Knight. Then we get to a match that I really enjoyed. Also, I kind of figured. I wouldn't enjoy these kind of matches. Looking at what my past, I usually would be down on some of like the chaotic stuff that was happening. It might have been my time away from wrestling that I just kind of missed the complete chaos that happens during these shows. But this match here, the triple threat for the United States Championship match, Logan Paul, he defeated Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. But the highlight of this match was Randy Orton hitting an RKO on the person in the Prime bottle, which was iShowSpeed. If you don't know him, he is a streamer, pretty big in the streaming world. I know he's been in some of the Sidemen soccer matches, football matches, whatever you call them, wherever you're from. He's been in some of those matches, so he is in and around the Sidemen group with obviously KSI, who we've seen in a wrestling ring before. But pretty interesting to see him there. I was like, are they really going to have Randy? And then Randy kicked him. I was like, oh, he's actually going to take a bump. Then he took an RKO. I was like, okay, interesting. I didn't know if they would. I didn't know if they would let him take a bump. They did. And then the funny thing afterwards, he said WWE is very real with a heartbreak emoji or something like that, or wrestling is very real. Complete kind of like a jab at those that say wrestling is fake. Loved that from iShowSpeed. But anyways, Logan Paul won as he should. He is a great, not necessarily ambassador, but face for the United States Championship. If you think about it, I mean, you want a big name guy there. I mean, I know I know Randy Orton and Kevin Owens are pretty big names themselves, but I think with Logan Paul, you can really build up to like a big SummerSlam match against a baby face. Or I don't necessarily think Randy Orton and Kevin Owens needed this. Whereas Logan Paul, he's been good. He's been good, and he's a great talker. So with him, I think he's kind of a better fit for the United States Championship. He's kind of not that necessarily Roman Reigns type of heel, but he's going to get under your skin. He kind of reminds me of a Miz of a sort. Not necessarily the same wrestling style, but the way they get under your skin when they play a heel character. He kind of reminds me of the Miz. So Logan Paul, I think is great for the United States Championship right now. Until somebody comes through the rankings. Well, maybe I think there's going to be a draft coming up. Maybe if the draft brings up somebody, or maybe that's when Logan Paul loses. But right now, I don't see him needing to lose the title. I thought it was a pretty solid match. He did his thing. Then we have Bayley versus Io Sky. Io Sky defending her WWE Women's Championship. Pretty much what I expected coming into this. Bayley, big WrestleMania moment. I thought this was a really good match. Bayley got her well-deserved singles WrestleMania moment where she wins the WWE Women's Championship. I was sitting there watching this match, and the way they put the match, I was kind of scared. I'm not going to lie. Because I was like, ooh, Bayley right before Cody. Are they going to do 2 title changes back to back? I was scared. But Bayley ended up winning, which, great for her. Bayley, great. I know a lot of you probably already know this. Bayley, she actually has one of my favorite matches in not just women's wrestling history, but in wrestling history in general. It's probably my second favorite match behind Undertaker and Shawn Michaels of WrestleMania 26. I know 25 is everybody's favorite. I like 26 because when Shawn Michaels retired, and I grew up a big Shawn Michaels fan. But that's a different story for a different day. My second favorite match was that takeover match with Sasha Banks and Bayley. I really loved it. I thought that Sasha Banks did a great job with her heel work in that match. I thought Bayley obviously did a great job being an overcoming babyface in that match. I absolutely loved that match. That match was what really made me realize as a fan that we were in for, like, when they talked about this women's revolution, that's when I really realized. I was like, this is going to be bigger than I think women's wrestling's ever been. I was like, I could see these two being in WrestleMania main events. Obviously, those two didn't get an opportunity to be in the main event of WrestleMania. That opportunity went to Charlotte, Ronda, and Becky, but it helps establish the platform. That's still why I think that's probably one of my favorite matches of all time. But great to see Bayley get her moment. Great to see Bayley get a WrestleMania moment. Well-deserved. Shout out to Bayley. Absolutely love Bayley's entire career. She's been a great asset for the WWE over the last however many years she's been up. It's been great, and now she's finally getting her big WrestleMania moment, her singles WrestleMania moment over Io Sky. And then we got to the match. We got to. This is the AEW shirt. This is the AEW shirt. I'm probably gonna go on WWE Shop and get the new championship shirt. I assume they're gonna have one. But this is the AEW shirt. Adrenaline in my soul. Something, something, Cody Rhodes. Above, 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 above. Whoa. Calm down. I do know the lyrics. I'm going off the BTE thing with John Silver and them, because that's kind of the thing going around with Cody. But finish the story, man. He finished the goddamn story. He did it. Cody did it. And I could not be more happy for the guy. That's a guy that I've met 3 different times. I've seen him wrestle countless times. I've watched kind of his journey. I remember watching him back in the Legacy days with Randy Orton. I remember kind of seeing that Stardust character. I was like, really? What are we doing here? I didn't really like that version of Cody. And then he went to the Indies, and I was like, okay. And then he went to New Japan. I was like, okay. And then he went to AEW, and I'm like, okay, this guy's got something. And then his AEW run, he did phenomenal. He was, I mean, I would probably say it started more so in the Indies than it did in AEW, but he became a top of the card guy. And you looked at it and you're like, this guy that left WWE, kind of similar to Drew McIntyre in a sense. This guy that left WWE, you see this, he leaves, he takes a step away from the kind of the spotlight of WWE. He brings his name back up. Obviously, you think of the story. You think of the story with Cody Rhodes. His dad is Dusty Rhodes, one of the greatest. One of the best teachers that's ever stepped foot in a WWE ring. His brother, Dustin Rhodes, used to be Goldust. It's a family full of wrestlers. His wife has wrestled Brandy Rhodes. I mean, you just look at everything. The story. And they couldn't have played it more perfectly. They couldn't play it more perfectly, in my opinion. Because last year, you had me sitting there. Who's going to be the guy if it's not Cody? That's what I said last year at Mania. And there wasn't another guy but Cody. But you had to believe he couldn't do it. You had to buy in to the bloodline. You had to see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson involve himself. You had to see Jimmy Uso, Solo. You had to see all those guys stack the odds against Cody. You had to see it. You had to see Seth Rollins come out to the Shield music during the match. They had me confused for a second. They played the Shield music. I'm sitting there like, holy shit. Did they do some random craziness with Tony Khan? Because I thought both Moxley and Seth Rollins, that might be the craziness in my head, we're going to walk down. I was like, there's no way. There's no way, right? It was just Seth. The Undertaker came out in support of Cody. John Cena came out in support of Cody. Kind of just, not necessarily enemies, but people of Roman Reigns' past. Seth came out in the Shield gear. Roman got one back with the chair. He hit Seth in the back with the chair, just like Seth did many years ago to Roman. But, I mean, you had Seth there. Roman Reigns had Taker there, who he beat. And he beat Taker, and Taker left his stuff in the ring. Obviously, we've seen Taker with Cena. We've seen Taker since then, but Taker has been in Roman's past. Cena, passed with him and Roman. Jey Uso came out and speared Jimmy. I mean, you talk about an absolutely overbooked mess of a main event. This is usually stuff I hate. This is usually stuff I don't like at all. But I loved every second of it. And I think that might be because, I have a list of everybody, because once people just started coming out, I just started writing stuff down. We had Solo, John Cena, Rock, Seth in the Shield gear, Taker, the Usos. We had a lot of people come out. And I was just like, these all have connections to Roman in his past. They all have connections. The story's bigger than just what's on the surface. These are all guys that Roman Reigns has kind of taken down in his path to greatness. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, and I don't think I'm going to tear up again like I did when... The part that got me is when he hugged Michael Cole. That's the part that got me. Cody Rhodes won at WrestleMania. I'll say it one more time for the people in the back. Cody Rhodes won the WWE Undisputed Championship at WrestleMania. And the celebration was even more beautiful than the finish, in my opinion. It was a great match. It was a great, great match. I loved every second of it. The celebration, he goes around, his family's in the ring. You got members of the locker room out there. I don't know if I got them all down here, but Seth was down there. Sami Zayn came out. Randy Orton. Kevin Owens was down there. Jey Uso was there. I mean, his family was in the ring. His mom was holding the championship. You could see how much this meant to the family. Thinking about, this is legitimately the first Rhodes to hold that title. Dusty. May his soul rest in peace. Dusty is looking down and smiling on Cody Rhodes today. Dusty Rhodes, I know he hasn't been there for this journey of Cody, but his son has had a great, great career, man. He turned it around. He started with Randy Orton, kind of near the bottom. He had to take a change. He had to gamble on himself. He did, and ever since then, he's been on the trajectory up, and it's worked out. It's worked out. I mean, he went around. I mean, he got picked up by, I believe, Randy and Sami. I mean, it was beautiful. It's beautiful. He goes around the ring, hugging everybody, shaking hands in the ring. And the part that really got me to tear up, the part that teared me up, was he steps outside the ring. Commentary table is broken, and he hugs Michael Cole. He hugged Michael Cole. And you could see in Michael Cole's eyes that he was tearing up. He went over, he shook Corey Graves' hand, he shook Pat McAfee's hand, he acknowledged everybody that's been a part of this journey. And he goes back in the ring, celebrates, and then Kevin Owens is helping Seth out, and he stops him and shakes Seth's hand, shakes Kevin's hand. It was one of those moments. It was one of those moments in pro wrestling that you're never going to forget. It's one of those WrestleMania moments that it's going to stick with you. It really is. It was a great, great main event. Great main event. I don't think the show could have been any better. And then, as he's walking off the ramp, you see him. He starts shaking the camera guy's hands. You can show how much love and appreciation he has for everybody there that helped him get here. Whether it's a cameraman, whether it's a ring announcer, whether it's another wrestler. He did it. Cody Rhodes did it at the end of the night. He is now finally the champion. Finally. He didn't get to be the champion in AEW because of that stipulation that he put on himself. But he can be the champion in the WWE. And I hope he has a great run. Because Cody, this is no longer part of the review. This is me speaking directly to Cody. You deserve it. I've seen the passion and love you put into this sport. I've seen the passion and love you put into your fans. I've seen the passion and love you put into everything you do in life. I mean, I remember at the AEW shows in my hometown in Champaign, Illinois. I was at a show. After the show, Cody Rhodes wins. They win the match, and I have a cast on. He comes up and takes a picture with me and my dad and asked about my hand. That was just one of the times I met him. I met him and his dog Pharaoh. I met them. It was the first time I met him, and I remember it was interesting because for some reason that weekend it wasn't normal for me, because usually when I go and meet wrestlers I kind of am kind of more relaxed for some reason. I'm not like marking out like some people do, but for some reason that weekend I was marking out a little bit. I mean, this is going to be a weird one. I marked out for Joey Janela. I was shaking before meeting Joey Janela. And it's kind of similar up until Cody, and then Cody started having a conversation. I'm like, oh, it eases the tension real quickly. I mean, you got to pet Pharaoh, the dog. I mean, it was awesome. And then I met him again, once again in Champaign. I met him, Tony Khan, MJF, all there, and Brandy too, all there. And I bring up the picture of when we met, me and Pharaoh, and he signs a picture. He makes a comment. He's like, "Oh, I'm wearing the same suit." And he's like, "I gotta figure out different attire." He's really good at making you as a fan kind of feel connected. And I cannot be more proud of you, Cody. You deserve every moment from this. You deserve this more than anybody. Your dad, your brother, everybody that's watched your career, Triple H, that's one of the guys he called down. Bruce Pritchard, one of the guys he called down. Everybody in that locker room. CM Punk, he came down. Everybody there, everybody back at AEW, everybody that you've ever worked with, everybody from your past, your whole family, and the fans especially. We cannot thank you enough for what you did tonight. I can't thank you enough for what you did in a time where I was kind of losing hope in wrestling, however many years ago it was. And I saw what you and the Bucks and all of them were doing, and I was like, you know what? This is something. All in. I was there. And I looked at it and I was like, this could really be something. We have something in the making here. So thank you, Cody. Thank you for everything, and you are the most deserving of all the champions. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. But once again, congratulations to Cody Rhodes.